Yes, welcome to this platform once again. Did you know man is a sinner? John chapter 8, verse 34. Jesus replied, I tell you the truth. Everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Wow, something about the truth. Of course, Jesus talks about him being the way, the truth, and the life. Okay? I tell you the truth. Everyone who sins is a slave to sin. So, slave is someone who is dragged along by something. Okay. Now a slave has a master and they have to follow the master. So if you're slave to sin, that means sin is in control. Romans 8 verse 8. Those controlled by the sinful nature cannot please God. So, and it's very clear that when you are controlled by the sinful nature, you cannot please God. James chapter 1 verse 15 says, then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when fully grown, gives birth to death. Wow. So it is out of the desires that we have that sin comes, and after sin comes death. Isaiah 59 verse 2. But your iniquities have separated you from your God, and your sin have hidden your face from you. Have hidden his face from you, so that he will not hear. Now you've wondered why you go and you pray, and sin is a major barrier to a lot of us. As we try to pray, we try our level best to commit ourselves and say the best prayer. But however much you pray, once sin is in your life, it will not. You'll not be able to break through. Once sin is a ruler, once you are enslaved to sin, a barrier is there between you and God. And it's very important that you consider that. Proverbs chapter 11 verse 19. The truly righteous man attains life, but those who pursue evil goes to his death. Romans chapter 3 verse 20. Therefore no one is declared righteous in his sight by observing the law. Rather, through the law, we become conscious of sin. The law is like a torch. You can have a snake under your chair, and the law is like the torch that you use to flash and see the snake. If you see the snake, the law doesn't deal with the snake. And so it's important that you deal with the snake. You can flash on it, and even if you're not dealt with it, it will not help. Galatians 3 verse 11. Clearly no one is justified before God by the law, because the righteous live by faith. Okay? So you are before God and you want to be justified. Your justification comes by living by faith. Okay? And faith on what? We shall look at that later. Clearly no one is justified before God by the law. Isaiah chapter 64 verse 6. All of us have become like one who is unclean. All our righteous acts are like filthy rags. Wow. You, with the righteous acts, what are those righteous acts? You go to church. You do everything. You are a committed Christian. Every morning you pray. Every day you go and be at church. You go for fellowship. You go for all the things. Okay? And the Bible is clearly making it that, you know what? Your righteous acts are like filthy rags. Filthy rag is a perforated, dirty piece of cloth that a rag, literally, it has holes all over, and it's filthy. Filth. It's I don't know what other word to use. It's nasty. Okay. So we can do good things, But you see, it's all becomes before God like a filthy rag. Ezekiel 33 verse 31 to 32. My people come to you as they usually do and sit before you to listen to your word, but they do not put them into practice. Their mouth express devotion, but their hearts are greedy for unjust gain. Indeed, to them, you are nothing more than one who sings love songs with a beautiful voice and plays an instrument well. For they hear your words but do not put them into practice. Oh, so good deeds, good deeds, good deeds. Going to church, just going to just committed people who go and listen to the word of God consistently, but they need to be put into practice. You need to be put into practice. You are consistent. You go to church every Sunday, every time when there's fellowship, you are there. You do everything. But God is saying, if you have greed in your heart for unjust gain, you're still not done with Him. Okay? And finally, 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 5. Not that we are competent in ourselves to claim anything for ourselves, but our competence comes from God. We started with, of course, being a slave to sin. Now, a slave is ruled by the master. The master of that slave is sin. Now, our competence coming from God means we get the source from God, the ability to do the things we do from God. Now, we tend to think our going to church makes us Christian. We tend to think the good things we do make us Christian. The Christ in you is the one who makes you Christian. Christ being at the center of your life is what makes a difference. And so we try in human efforts to make ourselves just. We try in human efforts to do things thinking that will make us right with God. But you see, those things don't make us right with God. It's not until we receive Jesus Christ, who is able to transform us from the inside out, to make us that vessel that He wants us to be. Not until we change the master, rather than the master being sin, we let Christ take on the steering wheel. Now, if sin still drives your life, that means Christ has no place. But when Christ takes over, your life is transformed. I pray that you consider Christ today. I pray that you change your source of competence to God Himself. May God bless you.